Hello, hello.
I'm Anthony.
And I'm Amanda.
And we are AB Adventures.
And today we are going to be talking about Fantasmic at all the different parks.
Now there are 4 different versions of Fantasmic. There's the original version that opened in Disneyland in 1992. There was a version that was created for Hollywood Studios, which opened in 1998. There's a version in Tokyo Disney Sea, which opened in 2011. And then the Disneyland version was revamped in 2017. So those are kind of the 4 versions that we're going to be covering.
So we're going to be talking about all the differences for each one of those within the parks and what we like about them, what we don't like about them. So stick around.
So like we said, we are going to be going through the different versions of Fantasmic. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend you go see it wherever you can, whenever you can. It's an amazing show.
It's really good. So basically the whole gist of the show is that Mickey is dreaming his way through different animated Disney movies, and they just kind of blend and meld together as they're going through these different storylines.
Yeah, it's really cool. Partway through the show, these villains come in, these Disney villains, and starting with the evil queen, and begin to take over his dream and try to turn it into a nightmare. It's really cool.
Yeah, and then from there, Mickey is eventually able to conquer these villains, and from at the very end, he lives happily ever after.
Or he dreams happily ever after.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of a disclaimer here. We said there were 4 different versions of the shows. We've only seen 2 of those in person. We've seen the Hollywood Studios version, of course, and we've seen the new Disneyland version. So we never got to see the Disneyland before it got revamped, and we haven't seen the Tokyo Disney Sea version.
YouTube counts, right?
Yeah, we did watch it on YouTube just before this video.
Yep, so we know what it looks like. We haven't seen it in person, but we're able to kind of give our take on it a little bit.
Now, the Tokyo Disney Sea version is actually where we're going to start because we just watched that one. It's fresh on our minds, and it's just so different from all the others. The first big difference is that Tokyo Disney Sea is completely on the water. There's no set, there's no stationary stage pieces. It's all on barges and floats that come out.
There's one little piece that's in the middle that kind of forms Mickey's hat, Sorcerer's hat a little bit, but it's not a stage.
There's a little bit more of the Sorcerer's Apprentice theme throughout. I really like that because that's my favorite, version of Mickey is Sorcerer's Apprentice. The story runs pretty much the same. It's got a few variations. It seems like a bit of a condensed version of the show. But one thing we really liked was towards the end. Some of the villains towards the end were really cool. They just did a really cool effect with Maleficent transforming into the dragon.
Yeah.
So that was really neat.
They had a scene in there that had kind of a music box feel, and a lot of the sets that came out were really cool for that. And then the last thing that I thought we both commented on, I don't know if we love it, but it was kind of cool, was they had a lot of LED lights on the costumes. So like Mickey at the top of the Sorcerer's hat was all lit up. It looked really, really cool. So yeah, I don't know if it's a favorite, but it was cool.
So we just started with that one because it was so different from the others. The others are similar, and we're just going to highlight some of the differences. But that one was way different, and so we wanted to start with that.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. Check out the video link below. We put a link to the version we watched. So
it was good.
Enjoy that.
Basically, what we're going to be doing is doing a comparison of the 3 different versions, 2 in Disneyland and 1 in Disney World, because we were kind of just going to do a run through of each of the stories for each one, but we figured it works best as a comparison. So we're going to be doing that, but just keep in mind that when Disneyland was built, they hadn't done Fantasmic yet, and so they added that in later, and when they did, they kind of fit it around Tom Sawyer's Island, so there's not great seating there. It just kind of like fits in there, whereas in Disney World, they built a specific theater for it, so it really works well there. So just keep that in mind as we're doing our comparison. That like
first big difference is the staging area.
Yeah, the staging is really good for the show. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so the next difference we want to point out is the original Disneyland version of the show and the Disney World version of the show were recorded with Mickey Mouse's previous voice actor named Wayne Allwine, and the new version in Disneyland is recorded with Brett Iwan. Brett, the new voice of Mickey Mouse, actually grew up and learned Mickey Mouse's voice from listening to the Fantasmic CD. doing performances in his backyard with his younger brother.
Yep. It wasn't movies. It wasn't. He specifically
used Fantasmic.
Yeah.
So when they were re-recording the voices, he was really concerned, and he didn't want he didn't want to replace the other guy. But when he heard the finished product, he and his brother were just. It felt right, and it was a dream come true of his to be able to record Fantasmic. So that's a really cool thing. At the current show in Disneyland, you have the new voice of Mickey Mouse, who literally grew up learning Mickey Mouse's voice through Fantasmic. So that's a cool little Easter egg from the Disneyland version.
It's really cool. And then from there, we were talking a little bit about how in Disneyland and Disney World, they all do different segments of animated movies. So they have just different versions and different pieces that they pull out and show. In Disney World, they flip through them pretty quickly. So you get a really wide array of all the different segments.
Right.
In Disneyland, they stay on them longer, which you might like, but we like getting the wider array better.
We like the quick cuts between each one.
Yeah.
So we're kind of moving through the show here as we point out the differences. Just before the villain segment, there's each version of Old Disneyland, New Disneyland, and Disney World has its own segment that they pull from a movie, and it's where the ship comes out, and there's a show based around basically the ship. So in the original Disneyland version, it was a Peter Pan themed segment where Peter Pan fought Captain Hook on the pirate ship. When they updated that version for Disneyland, they changed it to Pirates of the Caribbean. So the current Disneyland version has a live action themed segment, which we feel like it should stick with animated. You might like, let us know if you like the Pirates version better.
Stuff in different shows and stuff like that. Like they have really cool music. They usually use really cool fire, and so it's really cool to watch.
Some cool effects. Let us know in the comments below if you like that better, but we think just stick with the animated movie. That's all right.
Yeah.
In the Disney World version, they replaced that segment with Pocahontas, which you really liked. You liked having that bit in there, and John Smith swings in and saves the day. I don't like that one as much. I wish I could have seen the original Peter Pan version. I thought that'd be really cool.
That would have been really cool. But if you can't see it, then
So Disneyland currently has Pirates of the Caribbean. Disney World has Pocahontas. So now we get to my favorite part, the villains. So I am a huge Disney villain fan. All three versions of the show, and even the Tokyo version, have the evil queen and Ursula and Chernabog from Fantasia and Maleficent at the end. So all the versions have that. That's pretty much all that Disneyland and Tokyo Sea have. The Disney World version adds in a ton more villains, which is so cool. You've got Hades is in there. You've got Cruella de Vil, Scar, Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And then my favorite Disney villain of all time, Jafar. So the Disney World version, the Hollywood Studios version, just wins so many
villains in it. Like he just loves that part.
All
I
the
think
villains.
A lot of people do, just to have that wide variety of all of them coming together, where it's not just like three that are up against Mickey. It's multiple.
It's really cool. And Jafar as a snake, the only place you can see Jafar as a snake is in Hollywood Studios. Yeah. So make sure to get out there and see that. Cool. It's just gives me chills.
Yes.
Then
awesome. Going off from there, the villains. Specifically, like we really liked how the Disneyland version and the Disney World version are very different. Maleficent turns into a dragon, and that's really cool to be able to see like the two differences between the two of them.
So with the dragons, we could do a whole video on the different dragons. I think there have been 3 or 4 different versions in Disneyland. They've updated the one in Disney World. There's just all different kinds of dragons. So we could do our own video on the different dragons of Fantasmic, and we might. Go look it up if you want to see some of those differences, because everybody has a different opinion on the dragon.
I like the taller version in Disneyland.
It's full size.
Yeah,
dragon.
it's more imposing than the other one. But the other one's really cool too. So anyway, that's our opinion on that. And then from there, you really liked the Sword in the Stone.
Oh my gosh, yes. So the original Disneyland version and the Disney World version both had this, where Mickey draws a sword from the stone when he's going to defeat Maleficent, and it destroys all the villains, and he lives happily ever after.
Dreams happily.
Yes, okay. But I really like that Sword in the Stone element, and it got cut from the new version of the Disneyland show. So that's something that, once again...
That was really cool, because wasn't it his Prince and the Pauper outfit that he wore? They had multiple versions of Mickey, and then they just didn't.
So I really like that Sword in the Stone element. Once again, really you can only see that in Disney World. So if you couldn't tell, my vote is by far love the Disney World version.
Disney World's really cool. Again, we haven't seen the other ones in person. We saw Disneyland, but not the other ones. But still, I think just looking at the different aspects of it, Disney World for sure.
Yeah. So check out some other videos. Go find some videos of these shows. Let us know if you agree, disagree. What do you like about the Disneyland version, the Disney World version? Have you been to Tokyo Sea? Are you that lucky?
So, that is all. So we will see you on the flip flop.
So long.
Oops.